What's up, everybody? This Jose with Oakland Latinos United, aka Oakland Latinos Unidos, on here with a new video for you guys to enjoy. Well, I'm on here because I wanted to make a quick little spill of something I was thinking about. I noticed that a lot of people, especially those who are about my age, I'm 45 years old, those who are in their 40s and about my age that are on YouTube, I noticed that a lot of people my age, and it doesn't matter what nationality they are, a lot of them seem to be stuck in the 90s or stuck in the past. And the video of today is basically, is it healthy or is it good to be stuck in the past and keep reliving your glory years or your quote unquote glory years? And, you know, should we move on from that mentality? That's all I was thinking about. Something I wanted to talk about and something that's been kind of, I've just been noticing and I wanted to address. I noticed, there's a lot of channels on here in YouTube, a lot of people that speak on different things, and a lot of people are about my age. A lot of people that grew up in the 90s. You know what I mean? Some probably grew up in the late 80s. Some maybe grew up in the early 2000s, but majority 90s. And it seems like just a lot of people on here are stuck in the 90s in a way, and they don't want to progress, or at least their mentality doesn't want to progress. It seems that way. I could be wrong. And I just wanted to know, what do you guys think about that? You know what I mean? Is it good to be stuck in the past? Like I said, as far as me, that is the generation I grew up in. I grew up in the 90s. And, to me, obviously, the music of that time was very influential. You know what I mean? The styles of that time, the sheer brutality of that time was influential, and it shaped me to who I am. You know what I mean? But I can't act like that time was perfect and there weren't flaws or bad things going on at that time or bad music. You know what I mean? In our memory, or our collective memory, we're only going to remember the good. We're not going to remember the bad, even though there was a lot of bad in that time. You know what I mean? And it's a trick because really the early 90s has already been 30 years ago. If you think about it, we're in 2023 as I make this video. And 30 years ago was 1993. And I'm 45 years old. So 30 years ago today, I was 15 years old. Shit, I was still a virgin. I still hadn't even got none yet. At that time, I was a youngster. You know what I mean? I was a kid, basically. I didn't know nothing about life. Barely learning what life was, barely, you know what I mean? And there, like I said, there was the good and the bad. Obviously the good was, to me at least, the music was better at that time, at least to me. That was the era of Tupac, that was the era of Biggie, that was the era of Bay Area rap, RBL Posse, Too Short, you know what I mean, Darkroom Familia, Funky Aztecs, and the list goes on and on and on and on. You know what I mean? That was the era of lowriders, the era of muscle cars, the eras of Trues and Vogues, or Trues and lowrider tires. You know what I mean? That was the era of Dr. Dre. That was the era of En Vogue, the era of Tony Tone, Digital Underground. There's some a big list of so many I could go through. You know what I mean? So anyone that tries to educate me on that era is just talking out of the wind. I lived that era. That was my era when I was young. You know what I mean? But there was also bad in that era. You know what I mean? At that time, there was a lot of crime going on, a lot of violence, a lot of gang related stuff, a lot of drug related stuff. Cities like Oakland had, double digit homicides. 1992 was one of the deadliest years in Oakland. It reached almost to 200. A lot of people were struggling at that time. Again, I was just a little kid at that time, and I can remember throughout the 90s struggling a lot, hustling and working, trying to get by. I remember a lot of times being broke. I remember sometimes not having a car. I remember having to ride BART and AC Transit a lot, or RT when I was out in Sacramento, the regional transit. Um, you know what I mean? There was struggle for sure. And the same thing is about the older people of that time, the people that were our age now, people that were in their 40s and 50s at that time, they would say the same thing that we say about the youngsters today. They would say that we were disrespectful, that our music sucked, that our music is vulgar, that our music is degenerate. All it does is cusses and promotes violence. You know what I mean? Our days and our era was better. You guys are weirdos. I remember my brother's generation, they used to call us new booties. You know what I mean? Funny styling. People used to say we dress funny, that we wore baggy clothes. I can literally remember a dude telling me, you guys look like you guys crafting your pants wearing that clothes. Literally. You know what I mean? So, yeah, there were people that criticized this as well. The same way people make fun of skinny jeans and stuff like that. Well, in my day, there was people that would make fun of baggy clothes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Uh, but but yeah, like I said, there was bad too. And let's face it, there was horrible music at that time too. There was a lot of songs and one hit wonders that were just garbage. You know what I mean? In the '90s as well. So we gotta stop acting like like everything was perfect at that time, because it wasn't. Sometimes we act like those times were so, how can I say, they were so easy or so innocent. You know what I mean? But they weren't easy times. You know what I mean? Simple. There you go. Everything was so simple, but they weren't simple times. The thing was, we were simple because we were young. We were vulnerable. We were barely learning about life. We knew nothing about life at that time. We were barely learning the ropes. You know what I mean? So it seemed simple, but I can remember my parents and other adults complaining about the same things we complain about today, about paying the bills, about paying the rent, about working, about I got to do overtime, I got to hustle this, you know what I mean? So people were struggling back then too. It wasn't an easy ball game or ball court that everyone was going through in life, and today it's just so horrible. Now today, yes, things have changed. Things have gotten expensive. You know what I mean? Gentrification and so many things that that are going on today that didn't exist at that time. Totally agree. And the culture wars, the culture has changed. The styles have changed. The attitudes have changed. A lot of things have changed today, you know what I mean? And the thing about being stuck in the past that's not good is that, as humans, we have to evolve. And we can't be stuck in our past, because if we do keep being stuck in the past, we're not going to evolve with times, and we're going to get left behind and forgotten. We're going to be a relic of the past, and that's it. You know what I mean? So I'm not one of those people that's stuck in the past. Yes, I make videos about history. I get it. A lot of my stuff is based on history, but it's usually history so the future generations can know what happened back then, in order for them to make a better tomorrow. Really, that's why I do this, you know what I mean? But that I'm stuck in the '90s and those were my glory years, and today it's so horrible and back then was so better. It's like, nah, I don't really come at it like that. I'm just being honest with you, you know what I mean? There's a lot of good things today as well. There's a lot of technologies that didn't exist. Think about it. 1993, nobody had the internet. I mean, the internet was around, but it was barely a brand new thing that not very many people had. Let's face it. You know what I mean? Nobody really had cell phones. Only a small majority of people had cell phones. If you were lucky, you had maybe a pager, a beeper. You know what I mean? Nobody could work from the computer. Nobody can work from their car, or a lot of stuff, a lot of ways you can make money today. That didn't exist back then. Back then you had to have a 9 to 5 or have some kind of hustle where you were going to make money all the time. Life was definitely it was a lot harder to make money back then, for sure, than today. That I'll give it, you know what I mean? And we didn't have the technologies, YouTube, and none of this stuff existed, you know what I mean? None of this existed back then, 30 years ago. The internet was in its infancy at that time. Those who did have the internet, it was mostly like chat rooms and stuff like that, from what I heard about. Because I didn't even have the internet till 1999, 2000 was the first time I ever had the internet. So yeah, man. So I don't know. I just see a lot of people on here on YouTube, and don't want to say no names, but they're stuck in the '90s. They're stuck in the past. Everything was so better then, and everything's so horrible now. And it's just like, eh, grow up. You know what I mean? You're in the 2000s. You're in 2023. Accept it. Ground yourself and remember you're in the now. You're not in the past. You're in the now, in the right here, right now, and that's what it is. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean you have to sell out and forget and become like these people of today. No, you gotta adapt to today, but definitely remember. And you're always gonna have those memories of the past for sure. There's nothing wrong with remembering, but when you're stuck in that past, it's just not healthy. And when you're trying to prove yourself, like, oh, I did things back then. I was 10 toes in the ground in the 90s and all this stuff. It's just ridiculous, bro. It's immature, it's stupid, and it's like high school stuff. Like, I haven't been in high school since 1995, and I left high school behind me in 1995. You know what I mean? But, yeah, I'm going to share a story before I end this video. I had a friend who really, really was stuck in the 90s. I mean, really stuck in the 90s. He was like a relic of the past. And he just could not adapt to these times. Like, he could not adapt. It was hard for him to adapt to these times. And unfortunately, he didn't adapt, he didn't evolve, and he's 6 feet in the ground today because of it in many ways. So, you know, don't be that way. Live for the today, live for the now. Cherish the memories of the past because we're always going to have those memories of the past. This video is going to be the past at one point. So, I don't know. Just something I was thinking about. Let me know in the comments what you think. Was life better back then or is life better today? Were those your glory years or can you have glory years today? You know what I mean? Let me know. All right, y'all. This will say over and out.